America used to be a country where immigrants came in hopes to attain the American dream. The American dream is defined as the ideal by which equality of opportunity is available to any American, allowing the highest aspirations and goals to be achieved. However, with time, the dream seemed to rely more and more on the ability to go to college. If one couldn't afford college, then one would find it a lot harder to attain that dream. Without college, it's harder to find a well-paying and stable job, as well as a job that you're passionate about. However, the cost of tuition has skyrocketed. Less and less people are being able to afford to go to college, working these minimum wage jobs. Or if they do decide to go to college, they're forced to take out loans. But by the time they're even done with school, they'll spend the next decade or so paying off their student debt. My father came here as an immigrant, chasing that American dream and hoping for a better, more successful life for his children. However, he never got to go to college, and that's something that he regrets. However, my sister was the first one to go to college, and she spent 10 years of schooling to get her PhD. But the cost of her debt after she graduated was insane. The cost was nearly as high as it is to buy a house, $200,000. So instead of being able to buy a house and start a family at the age of 30, like she had planned, she had no choice but to live in a one-bedroom apartment, all her money going to bills and college debt. The American dream no longer sounds as appealing as it used to be. A big part of it being the fact that college is just becoming too expensive. And in order to get a good job, you need college. As a college student myself, I am choosing to only get an associate's degree instead of a bachelor's degree or a PhD. The reason being is because I don't want to graduate with $200,000 in school loans. The rising cost of college tuition is an issue that we should all be aware of, if not for ourselves, for our future children and the generations to come. I believe that lowering tuition can help get more people in college and reduce the dropout rate, lower unemployment, and help students in college borrow less money from the government, which helps us all in the end, which I'll touch upon later. So first I'm going to talk about how college is becoming too expensive. So the average debt in the US of student loans has increased by 63% compared to 2005. So that is a crazy number, 63%. In the course of 15 years, that's how much the debt for college students has increased. Another crazy statistic was written by Rick Seltzer, who published an article in 2017 called Tuition and Fees Rising Faster Than Aid. In his article, Rick talks about how schools in Missouri not only increased their tuition costs, but increased their fees by 138% in the past 6 years. Those two numbers are crazy numbers. So not only has the tuition cost risen, but so has fees in the past 6 years, 138%. So for those of you that don't know, tuition and fees are separate things. Fees cover things such as textbooks and any resources that you use on campus, such as counseling, the library, computers, anything of that sort. So that itself has risen by 138%. And each time I read that number, it just blows me away at how expensive it really is. So seeing how expensive college is, it's no surprise that more and more students are dropping out. Some of you may argue and say that there's many different reasons why students choose to drop out of college. And while that may be true, according to the Gates Foundation, where they did a study between college dropouts to see why they dropped out, 52% of them said that the reason that they dropped out was due to college becoming too expensive. That is a sad number. showing that more than half of people in college end up dropping out just because they can't afford it. So is college just becoming something for the upper class? Only the wealthy can afford college now? That does not sound like something the American dream would be like. The American dream should apply to everyone, not just people with a higher social class and people who have more money, which is a sad reality. So now that we know how college has become expensive, let's talk about how lowering college tuition could help. So according to the Student Loan Hero, the U.S. is in $1.56 trillion in debt just due to student loans. So this affects not just students having to pay off the $1.56 trillion, but also the entire population. There's many reasons as to why, but I'm going to give you just a few reasons. So the reason that it affects everyone is it slows economic growth in several ways. One of the ways being it slows the growth of new businesses. So instead of the $1.56 trillion going to starting new businesses, it goes to millennials being able to go to school. So that money that could be used for new businesses is being used as a loan for college students. Another way it slows economic growth is it lowers the rate of homeownership. So in my sister's situation, she has so much student loans that she can't afford to buy a house. There's many people in her situation as well where they have too many loans, so they can't afford a house. And by having less people being able to afford a house, the costs of houses rise, which lead to more people not being able to afford the houses because the houses are too expensive. So it's like a domino effect. Another way it hurts everyone is it suppresses consumer spending. So obviously if you have debt, that makes you spend less money because you have to spend more money to pay off your debt. So instead of the money going back to the community and back to like even small businesses, the money is going to pay off their debt or the students' debt from college instead of being able to use that money in our community. And the last reason that I'm gonna bring up of a way that it slows economic growth is how it puts a damper on retirement savings. So over the years, the age of retirement has risen just because now people need to work longer in order to have enough money in their retirement and to be able to pay money for Social Security for the people that are in retirement now. So that pushes back the year at which people are able to retire. So all of these reasons show how the rising cost of tuition affects not only college students, but the community as a whole. In conclusion, rising tuition makes school more expensive, meaning it can be not as affordable to some. It also raises student debt, and the rises of tuition contribute to dropout rates, which rises because school becomes too much of a financial burden. Tuition plays a big role in whether someone decides to go to a school or not, and having it at a lower cost, or at least not inflating so much, would allow more people to want to pursue school and get a better job and pay off whatever loans they do have to borrow. So by lowering tuition costs, the American dream could be more accessible and attainable. And instead of the American dream being attainable to just the rich or the people in the higher social class, it could be more attainable and available to everyone. In senior year, I remember asking my peers, in high school if they were going to attend college next year. Many of them said no for that very reason. That college is too much money and it almost isn't worth it in the end. Which got me thinking, since when did wanting to gain knowledge become so expensive? I know for a fact that I want to see my future children graduate college. But at this rate, if nothing is done about it, that may not be possible. So let's not disappoint any more future parents or any immigrant parents who've given up everything to come to the States to give their children a better future. Let's make it worth it. Let's make college worth it and affordable. Let's make the American dream attainable once again.